Hey everyone, welcome back to BuildBytesDaily. So if you've ever worked with the Next.js app router, you've definitely felt it, that incredible, snappy performance. But how does it actually do that? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on its most powerful, and let's be honest, sometimes confusing feature, the multi-layered caching system. I mean, you know the feeling, right? You click a link in a really well-built Next.js app, and bam, the next page is just there. It's almost before you've even lifted your finger. It feels like straight-up magic. But what's really going on under the hood?
Well, spoiler alert, it's not magic. It's a really sophisticated, multi-layered caching system that's just working tirelessly behind the scenes to do all the heavy lifting, rendering work, storing data, and just making your application feel instantaneous. See, Next.js is designed from the ground up to cache as much as possible, right out of the box, all to maximize performance and, lower your costs.
All right, so here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to peel back each of those layers. First, we'll get that high-level overview. Then we'll dive deep into the server-side stuff, pop over to the client side to see how the router cache works, and finally, and this is the important part, we'll look at how you can take control of the whole thing. Okay, so before we get totally lost in the weeds, let's just zoom out and look at the big picture. Think of this as our map, our blueprint for the whole caching landscape. Seriously, just understanding that there are these 4 distinct layers and knowing where they live, that's half the battle right there.
And this table just lays it all out so perfectly. What's really key here is noticing where everything lives. You've got 3 of these caches on the server and 1 over on the client, and each one has a very specific job to do. You've got request memoization, which is all about deduping function calls during a single render. Then there's the data cache, which is for holding onto data across different requests. The full route cache, that stores the actual ready-to-go HTML. And then finally, the router cache on the client. Well, that's the secret sauce that makes navigation feel so darn fast. All right, let's start on the server side of things and see how these first 3 caches play together. We're going to kick things off with the most temporary one, which, fun fact, is actually a feature of React itself that Next.js just leverages beautifully. Okay, so for request memoization, I want you to imagine a chef in a busy kitchen. Let's say you have a component tree and 3 different parts of it, 3 different components, all need the exact same piece of data, like, say, the current user's profile. Without memoization, the chef would run to the pantry 3 separate times, but with it, the chef is smart. They go once, grab that ingredient, and then reuse it for every part of that single order, that single render. So the key thing to get here is that this is a very short-term optimization. It's fantastic, super effective at stopping you from hammering your database for the same data over and over again while a single page is being put together. But, and this is a big but, as soon as that page render is done, poof, the memory is cleared, that cache is gone. It's strictly a per-request efficiency boost. Okay, now let's move up a layer to the data cache. If memoization was the chef prepping an ingredient for just one order, the data cache is the kitchen's huge, well-stocked pantry. The data you store here, it's persistent. It's available for any request from any user, and it can even stick around across new deployments. This is what makes your app consistently fast, not just for a single render. And this comparison really drives the point home. Memoization is temporary, it's scoped to a single render pass, and its whole job is to avoid doing duplicate work during that render. The data cache, on the other hand, is all about persistence. It's for the entire application, and its goal is to stop you from hitting your database or some external API again and again for data that, doesn't change all that often.
Okay, so if this cache is persistent, how do you stop the data from getting stale? Well, one of the coolest ways is time-based revalidation. It uses this strategy called stale-while-revalidate. It's brilliant. When a request comes in and the cache is expired, Next.js doesn't make the user wait. It instantly serves the old stale data, which is super fast. Then, in the background, it goes and fetches the fresh data and updates the cache. So the next person who visits gets the brand new stuff. It's this perfect balance between speed and freshness.
And you know what? Controlling this is ridiculously simple. Right inside your fetch call, you just add this next object with a revalidate property. You set it to the number of seconds you want the data to be considered fresh. So here, 3,600 seconds. That just means this data is going to be cached for 1 hour. Simple as that. All right, this brings us to the top layer of server-side caching, the full route cache. So if the data cache is our pantry, think of the full route cache as the kitchen's daily special. It's the fully prepared dish, plated and ready to go. For any static pages, Next.js renders the entire page, the HTML, the React server component payload, the whole shebang at build time, and just caches it. So when a user asks for that page, it's served instantly, no rendering required. Okay, we've covered the server. Now let's hop over to the client. Because the server can do all this amazing work to prep the data and the HTML, but it's the client-side router cache that really ties it all together and creates that seamless app-like navigation experience we all love. So what is it? It's this really clever in-memory cache that lives right in the user's browser. Its job is to store the React server component payloads for routes the user has already visited. To wrap up our kitchen analogy, this is like the really great waiter who remembers a regular customer's favorite order. When that customer navigates back to a page they've already seen, the waiter doesn't even have to go to the kitchen. They can just bring it right out. This right here is the magic that eliminates that jarring full-page reload whenever you click a link component. It's all stored in memory, just for that user session, so a hard refresh wipes it clean. It's what makes clicking back and forth feel completely instant. But what's really cool is that it's smart. It automatically prefetches the code for links that are visible on the screen, so a lot of the time, by the time you actually click, the next page is already there waiting for you. Okay, this all sounds great. Cache everything, go fast. But what if you don't want something cached? What about dynamic data? Well, Next.js defaults to caching pretty aggressively, but the good news is it gives you all the tools you need to opt out and take really fine-grained control. So the easiest way to make absolutely sure you're getting fresh data is to just tell a specific request to skip the data cache entirely. All you have to do is add cache equals no store to your fetch call. You're basically telling Next.js, hey, for this one request, ignore the pantry, go directly to the source every single time. Okay, this next part is super important to get right because these two things sound similar but are very different. RevalidatePath is something you'd use in a server action or a route handler. It's a server-side bazooka. It purges both the data cache and the full route cache for a specific URL. It's a big deal. Router.refresh, on the other hand, is a client-side function. It just tells the client's browser, hey, clear your local cache for this route and ask the server for the latest version. It doesn't force the server to go refetch its own data from the database. So yeah, this table is basically your cheat sheet. It's a fantastic summary of the main tools in your caching toolbox. Whether you need to opt out of a fetch, set a time limit, revalidate on demand with tags or paths, or just refresh what the user is seeing, there's a specific API for the job. Getting comfortable with these is really the key to mastering your app's performance.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground. So, after all that, what's the one big idea you should walk away with?
It's this. You have to change your mindset. In Next.js, caching is the default. It's not something you opt into, it's something you opt out of. The framework is built to be fast right out of the box. So your job as a developer isn't really to figure out how to add caching, but to know when and why to strategically opt out or revalidate. So, we've basically handed you the map to this whole powerful system. You now have the blueprint for all 4 layers: request memorization, the data cache, the full route cache, and the router cache. So my question for you is, now that you understand how these layers work together, how is this going to change the way you think about performance in your next build? Hey, if this breakdown of Next.js caching was helpful for you, do us a huge favor and smash that like button. It really helps the channel out. Make sure to subscribe to BuildBytesDaily for more deep dives just like this one. And if you have any questions or a topic you want us to cover next, drop it in the comments below. We read all of them. Thanks for watching.